Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second Take the Black live episode of the year of our Lord, New Year 2020. I am Dan Selcke, the editor of winteriscoming.net, here with also editor of winteriscoming.net, Daniel Roman, who will be joining us on this long, wonderful adventure. Daniel, how is your New Year going so far?
It's been fantastic so far. It's been great to be working on the site so much and keeping up on the fantasy sci-fi news, which is what we're doing here. So I feel like my thumb is more on the pulse than ever before because we're just in it every day.
It has been fun so far. We're only 2 weeks in and I'm having a good time. So far 2022 is, I'm going to say, an improvement on 2021. If for no other reason than work's been nice. The weather's been more or less fine. We got our office back here. So, and I found this gavel lying around the office. I'm going to be using that a little more, incorporating into my prop work. And thanks for joining us, everybody. Hey, nice. Jen. Hey, Martha. And I thought that we would do this episode. 2022 will be a giant year for all things TV, books, movies, fantasy, as usual. But I feel like this is the year where we'll finally see the full. Okay, I'm gonna go with the metaphor here. We're finally going to see the tree planted by Game of Thrones in terms of all the other studios planting seeds. The after Game of Thrones tree will fully bloom and blossom and bear fruit this year. I think that kind of half worked.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
because
I think that's a good metaphor for it.
Sure. I'll workshop that because we have a lot of series that were kind of made in Game of Thrones image coming to bear this year. We got the Lord of the Rings show. We got probably more Wheel of Time, maybe more Witcher. And of course, we have, most importantly, the actual Game of Thrones prequel series, House of the Dragon. I mean, 3 years out, not that bad. I mean, I've always said that if Game of Thrones aired on AMC, they would have had a prequel out like a month after it ended. But on HBO, we waited 3 years, which I think is a respectable time. It's weird, like, it doesn't feel like that long ago to me, but I realize that I may be heavily biased because I'm like in it so much that the show was on. But for the rest of folk, I'm looking forward to seeing how they react to Game of Thrones 2.0 or 0.0, however you want to call it, when it comes around sometime. In the fallish winter, most likely.
Yeah, I don't think it hasn't been that long. Kind of in the grand scheme of things, you're right. If it was AMC, they probably would have had it a month before it was over,
concurrently,
based on what they've done with The Walking Dead. But you look at stuff like Dexter, like that just came out with it's kind of a spinoff, kind of a sequel season, but that was like 8 years, almost 9 years. So. Yeah, HBO was kind of on that spinoff train. Yeah, that was definitely different.
Like Dexter belongs to that different thing where it's more like Arrested Development-esque, like coming back after years off the air thing. That's a whole separate tree, whole different metaphor. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And we got Julie calling us D&D. Thank you. I appreciate the nickname. I will fully embrace that, by the way. I think it's solid. Hey, Martha. Hey, Jen. Hey, Christian.
I'm on board with D&D. It feels like carrying on the Game of Thrones legacy. So
it does. Have you ever dabbled, just Daniel, just little banter, quick talk in a D&D yourself? You ever played a game of Dungeons and Dragons, Daniel Roman?
I have. So I have not played.
You
Dungeons
can lie.
And Dragons.
It's okay.
I won't lie. I won't lie to the people. This is only my second or third time on the podcast. We can't start off on that foot. We're not in King's Landing. I've played a couple of campaigns of a different tabletop system called GURPS. I haven't played D&D though. I know that is it's like a general role-playing system. You can apply it to any type of world, basically. But yeah, Dungeons and Dragons, I know that's a mark of shame on my nerd resume. So I need to fix that in the coming year. How about yourself? Have you?
Critical Role has their own Dungeons and Dragons TV show. I mean, clearly there's money in it. I did it in college. Yeah. I was a bard named Carol LaRue, and I just basically a Carol a Carol Channing impression. That was what I wanted to do. I was in it for the voices mostly, but that was a long time ago. And so it comes back anyway. As Christian says, they would have had AMC would have had Fear the Throne by now, which I think is pretty clever. Anyway, House of the Dragon coming this year. I thought we would take an opportunity here at the top of the year to kind of, because we're starting to get, I think they're wrapping up. They're wrapping up filming, and we're getting some photos from it, which is always fun. It was always fun during Game of Thrones time, starting to look at what they're doing behind the scenes, try to guess at what's happening. And I thought we'd go over some few photos from the set. Don't tell anybody, and see if we can give our opinions on how things are going, including this photo of Millie Alcock as young Rhaenyra Targaryen in her sort of gray riding, hawking fantasy thing she's serving here. Costumes are always good in Game of Thrones, always nice. It's weird because I saw people on Twitter talking about this photo in particular and saying like it's hideous, she would never wear that, it's gray. I think it looks fine. And also she has a lot of other clothes. Like there's a tons of costumes on this show. We've seen her in like she's a flowy crap with lots of colors and gemstones and whatever. She can wear gray sometime, people. It's okay. It's a cloudy day.
She's a princess. She's got a wardrobe, you would think.
Yeah, probably a big one.
And it's one of the Targaryen colors, right? Black and red. So it would make sense she'd have some black stuff in her armoire.
I agree. Looks badass. I will say this. So I always had this thought about the costumes in Game of Thrones. I thought that by the end, while they still looked really cool, like Cersei's kind of armored gown she was into at the end, they started to look like less like medieval actual garb and more kind of like Final Fantasy villain, kind of like elaborate cosplay wear, which I did not mind at all.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was great. I did think the costumes kind of went off into maybe like almost over designed a bit, rather than like, this is like, no one would actually wear that in medieval times, right? But as long as my eyes entertained, I don't really mind.
I think that's pretty fair. I think they definitely went into like final form of the characters by the end seasons. You know, they're giving Dany and Jon and Cersei especially like their their outfits that, like you said, you wouldn't typically expect to see that actually as a more accurate medieval outfit, which the early seasons were kind of a little stricter on, minus the helmets in battle, which was always a sticking point.
I mean, it's TV. I want to see their faces. It's hard to do like medieval garb in a TV show because you always run the risk of having it look like a Renaissance fair, you know, which I think like I feel like Wheel of Time does a bit more. Like I look at that and I see like kind of smoke coming out of Hobbit chimneys and people kind of in their little smocks and vests. And after all these years, I still don't have a good vocabulary for medieval costumes. Doublets.
Yeah, right.
And it looks a little chintzier. Game of Thrones seems to know how to pull it off, where they can wear this pretty elaborate stuff, but it never looks too silly to me. It kind of looks like I want to see that recreated at Comic-Con.
Yeah, I feel like if anything, the like this wave, as we've been waiting for the tree to germinate, of Game of Thrones, right? We'll keep the metaphor going. Of Game of Thrones successors and stuff. I feel like it's given me more respect for the costuming job they did on Game of Thrones, because like you have shows like The Wheel of Time, I think toes it. Sometimes I think the costumes are great. Sometimes I totally see the Renaissance fair vibe you're talking about. But then you've got shows like Cursed, which I don't know if you saw Cursed at all. I watched like an episode or two, and the costumes they're not the best. So yeah, these shows have really made me appreciate the job that I think Michelle Clapton, the rest of the costuming department, did on Thrones.
I'm sure there's like tons of subtlety things they're doing to make it seem like that I just do not have the vernacular or vocabulary to appreciate. So if anybody out there is really into the costumes and wants to talk about stitching, feel free, because I'm not sure I'm qualified. I also, Jen liked Curse. We should get another season of that. Nice. They canceled it. Not every medieval themed show can become a critical and popular darling in last 8 seasons, but maybe a couple can, which is what we're all trying to see now. We also got, I liked this image from, okay, this is inside the Red Keep, which, okay,
Ready for
so
it.
again, prequel series, we're 100 years before, 200 years before, Targaryens are in charge. This is very small, but I like that there is a dragon sconce on the wall, which again is the kind
Yeah.
of detail you want to see, because in Game of Thrones times, those won't be there because Targaryens are gone. Robert Baratheon's like, take all those down, put up a boar thing, or just don't have anything, or just like put a tribble with beer there or whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be cool to see. And we already know they have done something like with the throne, which is a nice. How do you feel about that, by the way? I never
Yes.
asked you about that. The new Iron Throne with the giant spikes all around the place, the kind of half measure between it's not a new throne, but
Yep.
they are getting the effect of it looks different than it used to by putting just swords around it.
Yeah. So I really like that they redesigned the throne. I wasn't one of those people who didn't like it in the original series, because it wasn't quite in line with George R. R. Martin's crazy vision of this towering mountain of swords. I like the way it was in the original series. I really like that they did the redesign. I think the redesign looks cool and a little more dangerous, a little more
It does look more dangerous,
like a thing to be reckoned with to even go near it. So that feels appropriate for kind of this prickly period of the Targaryen history. I'm curious to see how they tie that all in, though. How they're going to explain. I would be disappointed if it got to the end of the show's run and the throne looked the same, because that would feel to me like a lapse of continuity between House of the Dragon and the original series. So I'm hoping they cover their bases with that.
I could see the final scene or toward the end, like Baelor the Blessed, like taking some of the, no, get those out of there, all the swords or something. I mean, right. I do like it, but it is a little like, I almost would have they rather just redesigned the whole thing from the ground up, like continuity be damned, because it does. It is the same throne, but it's just stick swords around it. It's not really made of swords, but whatever. It does look cool. As Jim Casey says, King of Scabs cut his butt upon it. Yes, he did.
Yeah. I feel like one of their challenges with this crazy redesign they're doing of the Red Keep, I like the dragon sconce to bring it to comment on that.
Yes.
I'm a fan of the Targaryen stuff being around the Red Keep. I think that's a nice touch, and I think it needs that. It'll be curious to me to see how they redesign the Red Keep without making it look a lot newer, if that makes sense. Like, this is 200 years in the past.
Yeah, so I mean, they should though, right? Like, it should look a little fresher. Like, the Red Keep's been finished for like not even a century yet. So
I guess that's a fair point.
Quite as degraded.
Yeah. It shouldn't look as degraded. So that's kind of an interesting quandary, right? It shouldn't look as degraded, but Westeros 200 years from now, it should look like they've made some advancements, you would think, in that 200-year period, because it's not really like a classical period of Westeros.
You'd think, but I mean, that like gets into like the whole like, why didn't they invent gunpowder yet thing, and then you just kind of get into, listen, because George R. Martin didn't want it, because he wants to live in a world where there's medieval times for hundreds of years. Like, at the end of the day,
and who can blame him?
That we'll just leave it there. Some good comments here. As Julie says, wish they'd hurry up with Outlander. Their cost is pretty realistic. Yeah, Outlander is coming out soon. I think in March, Julie. June?
March 6th.
Okay, March.
Yeah,
cool.
They're coming back for 8 episodes March 6th. And then because of COVID, they shortened this season. And then next season is going to be like 16 episodes. So it's going to be really long. But possibly March 6th.
We'll see.
Says, I don't think it'll finish.
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, they don't want it to. I think they'll keep going. Yeah.
I mean, God, it is hard when you get up to that level and you're that famous, because then the stars can start demanding, like, I want multiple millions of dollars per episode. And unless you want to recast Jamie Fraser, which is the reason for the season, like, you just have to do it. Which it is interesting. Like, shows there's a reason why shows tend to like kind of last for, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but I think like the kind of 8 seasons thing is because that's as far as people pay attention. That's when the stars starts degrading. Also, that's as far as you can like keep it going, especially if it's popular, because the money will start being too much for even what it's taking in. And then you have like things like they were making like $1 million for 20 episodes of Friends back in the day, all 6 of them. Like things can get pretty insane.
That's crazy. Yeah,
and it's insane in the 90s, man. Like in the 90s, $20 million a year.
Oh my God. And they were still living in the same apartments.
I mean, Jennifer Aniston wasn't. She bought a couple of mansions, but Rachel, was still slumming it. Let's see.
Phoebe still had her same place. We all know it.
Did she have an apartment? We're getting way off track here. Let's see. Oh, as Julie says, can you imagine? I don't. Okay, we'll talk about that later after the show. As Julie says, can you imagine the tears once the episode airs? I know I'll be in tears. I will wonder what my reaction will be when House of the Dragon comes on, because again, I'm way too invested in this. It might be emotional. We'll see. And as Tarja says, love to you all from a night East Sweden. Thank you, Tarja, from Sweden. Our Swedish friends, Swedish.
Thank you, Tarja.
All right, and finally, we have this little quick video of. Why don't you just say what's going on here, because it's pretty interesting.
Ooh, yeah, I love this. So I'm not 100% sure if we've gotten this confirmed, but I'm pretty sure this is a lighting rig to simulate Dragonfire for the actors and the crew. You would think so, right? Like, what else could?
I don't know what else could possibly be. A flaming arrow, a really big one.
From a trebuchet, or scorpion, I guess. So I think that's just so cool that they have a lighting rig like that to simulate where the Dragonfire would be for the actors. It's one of those movie magic things where it's like, all right, it's cool to get that glimpse.
It is pretty cool. And there's something about like sometimes you don't want to see how the sausage is made because it kind of takes the magic out of it. And sometimes you're like, I want to own a bowling alley and I want that above it, like that kind of thing, which I think this is giving me that, which I like.
Yeah. Totally.
There is some bad news to go around. They did, in terms of House of the Dragon, when it's coming out, I'm starting to hear like fall, winter. There was some German magazine that published, I think, movie, TV, fall, winter. That's not a guarantee or anything, but it makes sense. They're wrapping now. And we all thought they were going to announce it at this February 20th Las Vegas convention, but unsurprisingly, probably HBO did cancel. We'll see what happens. They delayed the official Game of Thrones fan convention, great name, to an undetermined date for obvious reasons. Mass gatherings aren't what they used to be. So I'm not sure what they'll do then. They had to have been thinking of it like trailerizing and hyping it up then, right?
I can't imagine that they would have done their first, right? It's the first one, I'm pretty sure. Their first official
3 years after the show's over, the first Game of Thrones fan convention. You have an ulterior motive.
Yeah, they had to be looking to leapfrog off of that and drop something about House of the Dragon. I think a teaser or a release date was a real possibility there.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how them postponing this would affect it though. Like,
I don't think so either.
So you said, did they just wrap? Do we know if they've officially wrapped filming?
Word is that the crew members, that the crew is doing that thing where they're like, "What an amazing 8 months! Going home to see the kids," and like, "Wow, it's been so amazing! Time to go home, see the cats," like that kind of thing. So like that's what it looks like, but they haven't made like a word done announcement yet.
Got it. Okay, so maybe we can assume the lion's share of the filming is done. If they've got something like reshoots or smaller studio stuff, we don't know about it, but hopefully we'll know sometime soon. I would be really surprised if it ended up being a late year release. I think that would kind of suck for HBO because the tree has germinated very fully by this point. Right. So
lots of trees in the garden, in the grove. Sorry.
Yeah, the grove is overgrown. And by the fall, we've got the Lord of the Rings prequel from Amazon. If The Witcher comes back this year, which I don't think we're gonna get more of the mainline show. Like,
yeah, I think I agree with you.
But Blood
We have
Origin's
that
coming
prequel.
sometime this year. Yeah, we don't know when, but it's definitely this year. If Wheel of Time comes back, like that is supposedly already halfway
Winter,
through
yeah.
filming its second season, or it was like in the like last December. It was supposedly like halfway through.
I mean, they've like shown
so-
episodes already, so like that is pretty far
Yeah.
along. I think
Yeah.
that'll be back in like December or something.
Yeah. They haven't, they haven't shown Brandon Sanderson the scripts for the last two yet as of the finale premiere. He was
Ooh.
live streaming and talking about this because he's a consultant.
Really?
He gets the scripts, he reads them, he gives them notes. He hadn't seen the last two episode scripts.
Do they
so
listen?
I wonder if there's yeah, well, he said on the thing, he was like, if you're listening, like send me the scripts. But I wonder if they're still shooting the last two episodes.
Oh,
was
sure.
Basically where I was going with that. But yeah, so House of the Dragon, if it comes out late year, it's gonna have a ton of competition for eyeballs. Kind of. And if it came out any earlier, it would have the house to keep to itself. But we'll see.
The grove, yeah, it would grow the tallest. I don't know if it's one tree or many trees, but that's just part of the fun.
Yeah.
I mean, as Martha and Jen are saying, they were thinking April or earlier, but I'm more in line with Christian, who's saying with much more dragon CGI to put together, I can imagine the release date being closely on 2022, which I do probably think, because again, I mean, you think 3 baby dragons is hard to animate? Try like 30 damn dragons flying around to various sizes. And I think the first season probably won't have that much, but this is probably going to take some serious post-production. I would guess they're going to have to do it later. I'm not sure they have a choice. It'd be great to do it April. Sure, of course, obviously, that would be the preferred thing. But I don't see how they could actually get away with that if they want it to be good enough to stand up to Lord of the Rings.
Yep. I think as much as I would love to see it in April, I think that would have made sense for like thinking long game when Game of Thrones aired. April would have been nice, but they haven't announced a release date yet, which makes me think I'd be surprised to see it before this. I'll be the optimist and say before the summer, but late year does seem likely or possible at least.
As Martha reminds us, Game of Thrones premiered on April 17th, 2011, over a decade ago now. Yeah, thank you. I don't feel old. That's fine. Oh, we're not old. Not. We're just 10 years later. Any other thoughts on
the same age?
Yeah. We're at that age, like, I'm turning 30 again. No, we don't do that stuff. Any other thoughts on House of the Dragon, Daniel? Anywhere else out there before we move on?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm excited to. We're basically just keeping our eyes out for any news about this show. I don't hate Rhaenyra's outfit. I can see people complaining because she's the realm's delight and it's kind of dark and brooding. We've kind of only seen dark and brooding stuff, or mostly dark and brooding stuff of her.
Did
we get like brighter outfits for her?
Well, maybe not like teal blue or whatever, but she's wearing like black and red flowy with like crystals and crap. It's not like she's just like in a gray drab stuff. I mean, but no, she hasn't worn like, I mean, a Targaryen is not going to wear like acid green. Like that's not going to happen. But we've seen things that are a little more elaborate, with like, again, my vocabulary fails me. With like structure and stuff on it and like the streamers and this whole thing.
Stuff that's more conducive to being the realm's delight as opposed to going out and hunting stuff. Yeah.
As Jenkins says, she's in dragon riding attire. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But okay.
Oh yeah. That's probably a really good call. Yeah.
There is like a shot of her behind the scenes talking to the lady who plays a young Alicent Hightower. I'm looking forward to that. That could be juicy. Just like kind of teasing out the slow buildup of rivalry. I could see if they do a good job, it could be really, really satisfying. But we'll have to wait until
I feel like
April.
Yeah. I think they picked those ages for them because in Fire and Blood we see Rhaenyra and from when she's like a baby, if I remember right. So like they could have chosen any time to have flashbacks, but they specifically chose like young teenage Rhaenyra and Alicent. So I think you're probably right that they're going to play up the deep seated rivalry between them for yeah.
I have one more question for you before we move on, because I'm just curious. I never got to ask you this.
Oh.
Do you think, or do you prefer, and do you think they're going to do like flashbacks to teenage Alicent and Rhaenyra and that whole crew, or do you think they'll start as teenagers, first 3 episodes, and then like transition into older folk? Is this the Crown model, or is this a show that has flashbacks model? As long as it's not The Witcher at the same time model, I'll be happy.
Yeah. I think if they do flashbacks, I hope they do it kind of the way Game of Thrones did, where they were really sparing. But it was clear, like they had that flashback to, do they have one? Okay. So more than that, take that one and do it like that, but more. I hope that so since Game of Thrones didn't really do flashbacks, I kind of hope this show does, because it seems like the opportunity is there for them to do it well, where it's like having the flashback to drive home things that are happening in the present, kind of like Lost did when it was in its prime. I hope that if they do flashbacks, they pull it off that way. But I don't know what I would prefer, honestly, if they can pull off the Crown type thing. I mean, it's Targaryens being Targaryen, and Matt Smith is still going to be the same age, which is a little weird for
I mean, look, it's supposed
stuff.
to be creepy, but it is creepy.
Yeah,
because it makes
there's
better.
No getting around. Yeah. So do you have a preference?
Not really. The Book of Boba Fett right now is doing the thing where like he's in the present, but then they flash back periodically to his time with the Tusken Raiders for like a good chunk of the episode, and I think that's working more or less. So they're both with it.
I think it's working.
The only thing I don't want is to do like a parallel stories at the same time. I don't want that, which I don't think we will get. So because I trust them more than that.
Yeah. I hope you're right. I hope it's the flashbacks are to serve what's happening in the present more than their own thing. And I think they're working on Boba Fett. I haven't seen today's. My only thing is I wish there was a smidge less flashback and a smidge more in the present.
There is quite a bit.
So I'm hoping they balance that.
It's a lovely show, like just the kind of the pacing of it, the kind of way it takes its time. I like it. I enjoy the big Jabba the Hutt twin cousins who are bickering on their giant wheels. It's fun. It's fun. All right. Okay, we're gonna move on from House of the Dragon.
Let's do it.
Although obviously we're excited. All right. So we also got coming up in March. They're gonna try this Batman thing again. They've got the Batman starring Robert Pattinson as the Batman. And we also got a whole bevy of villains. And mostly this is just an opportunity to look at their clothes and go, ooh. Because we got Paul Dano here as a Riddler who is serving kind of like Zodiac killer, Unabomber, flasher chic in this trench coat that looks like it's lined with bombs or wristwatches he stole and is going to sell you when he opens them up with a question mark. Do you like this? Let's do the Riddler, but now he's gritty and dark and wicked.
I'm really torn. I kind of liked like the classic Riddler. It's just so easy for it to be real campy. So I can understand why they did this. I feel like with the new villain
commenters are
I just
split.
Are they? Yeah.
Yes,
I keep staring at these being like, I just can't decide how I feel about this. I need to actually see him in action, I guess. Because it's weird. It's no matter how, I feel like no matter what you expected from the Riddler in this movie, like, did anyone expect it to actually look like this? I didn't.
No,
I was excited to see what they did, but I would never have guessed that he would look like that. So I'm willing to give them the chance though, because it's Matt Reeves. I didn't make the connection earlier, but that's the guy who did Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the
Okay.
Apes, and those movies were
Lord.
fantastic.
I did like the movies. Those were
So
good.
I'll give him a chance. I'll give him the chance to do it. How about you?
I am
What are your
enjoying
thoughts?
how split the commenters are. Like Julie likes it.
Yeah.
Jen says it's freaky. Christian thinks it's horrible. So we have a fun little break. He looks like algae.
Yeah.
He says, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Algae that's gonna mess up, all the things you were hoping wouldn't get algae on them. He is the algae of the Batman world.
Algae that will trap you in a jigsaw like puzzle with to like solve algebra problems or you die is what I'm gonna guess this kind of guy kind of does.
Algebra problems.
Algebra, trigonometry, blah, blah, blah. It's interesting. I mean, honestly, the whole thing makes me feel like this movie seems like set up for a bunch of different shows. Like, for example, we also got Colin Farrell as Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin. I mean, I like Paul Dano. I will say, when they say Paul Dano's the Riddler, I was like, yeah, because he's weird and he's creepy. There will be blood and everything. And it's just kind of very off-putting and unsettling. Colin Farrell, I was like, the Penguin? Really? But now that I look at this, what do you think?
I think I just keep staring at this photo in utter confusion. I think they did the prosthetics people on the movie did an incredible job because like I didn't know that was Colin Farrell when I first saw it. I was like, oh, here's this guy. It's the Penguin. Who is that? And then I saw Colin Farrell and it blew my mind. So I think there's a chance it could be really great, really incredible. I think Colin Farrell's a solid actor. Most things I've seen him in, I enjoyed him in. So I feel like when the prosthetics are this good, that makes me feel like it could be a role where he's really able to transform himself and give it like a next level performance. That's my hope.
I'm sure it could be good. I like Colin Farrell. I do wonder, like, why not just get an actual ugly person? Like, why do you need to get Colin Farrell and then put him in tons of prosthetics to make him look like this? I mean,
that's fair.
Why not? I can't name anybody now because I just said an ugly person. But, there are other people who, I don't know, I would go to first if I were casting them. It feels like Matt, he owed him a favor, Matt Reeves or something. I don't know. I like Colin Farrell. He'll be cool. And he does look good.
It's an interesting choice. It's definitely an like, what was that casting process like where they were like, all right, Colin, like, did he come in and he was like, yeah, I got the Penguin. I understand. Like, how did they get from Colin Farrell's audition tape to that? I want to know.
Like, who played Baron Harkonnen in Dune? Something Skarsgård. He was
Stellan
great.
Skarsgård.
There you go, yeah.
Oh my God, he would be a terrifying Penguin.
Wouldn't he? Okay, but I'm not casting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a bad movie. I'll go see it. I mean, it does, like, he already exactly, folks. People are laughing that I dug myself a hole. I think Stellan Skarsgård is a nice, I don't know what he looks like. He's a nice looking man.
He certainly doesn't look like he does in Dune. You were making that comparison to his Dune character.
Yes, to Baron Harkonnen, who is an ugly person, as described in the page of the book.
Yes. Yep, that's canonical.
Inside and out. Yeah, very canonical.
Yes.
I mean, so Colin Farrell already has a Penguin spinoff coming to HBO Max. I look, like, the movie might be good. I just feel like they're doing it so they can make a new franchise, not to make a movie. Like, they already have like a Gotham PD spinoff revving up. They have now a Penguin spinoff. I mean, Zoe Saldana looks great as Catwoman. I'm sure she might get a spinoff or something. And I think that's what they want to do. There are already rumors, like, of course, we'll see the Joker because I want to set up something else. And it might be played by, the kid, one from Eternals, whose name escapes me. I can just feel them fishing for the engagement with this one. And even if I enjoy it, I always feel a little entrapped.
Yeah, it's tough with everyone wants their own cinematic universe, and DC has just been trying and like they have one now. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the theme of series giving spin-offs before whatever the spin-off is for is even out, because it does feel a little like Hawkeye did this too. And I watched Hawkeye with someone who wasn't super up on this news. So Echo came on and I was like, oh yeah, Echo, she's going to have her own show. And there was a groan in the room, because that is the pattern of, we've got you to watch one show, here's more spin-offs for it. And more than that with DC too, it's been kind of hit or miss, their shows. So yeah, I'm curious what the deal is going to be with this Penguin show. I mean, I'm not gunning to watch it, to be honest.
But maybe we'll
maybe I will be after the movie. Yeah, exactly.
By the way, Gilherme asked if we did the Cred Keep. We did, Gilherme. That was at the top of the show. But
yep.
You know, we're on YouTube, Facebook. You can go back and watch the beginning on our YouTube page. It's coming down.
Yeah, totally.
The YouTube page. I recommend it.
The recap is there, or it will be when this show's over.
I mean, it's streaming there live right now. We're live on Facebook and YouTube as we speak. Moving on, by the way, anything else you're watching, Daniel? Anything else anyone out there is watching at the moment they want to share with us? What are you watching, Daniel?
Well, I'm watching the Book of Boba Fett. I'm also watching the Expanse. The finale of the Expanse is this Friday. I've been reviewing that on the site, so I've actually already seen the Expanse, but I'm rewatching it as it's going live. The finale is epic, so I'm super excited to rewatch that one. It's an hour and a half, so it's a double size episode, or like an episode and a half.
Cool.
And yeah, I also started Ted Lasso.
You did?
To go totally the other direction. It's a feel-good show, man.
It is. That show, I was in your place. Like, everyone was saying, you got to watch Ted Lasso. You got to watch Lasso. I'm like, fine. So I got it. And yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah, those biscuits. The biscuits got me right in the heart.
And it just...
How about you? What are you watching?
I enjoyed it. Okay, Boba Fett, watching that. As Julie says, she's watching Vikings. Just the old show, Julie? Are you catching up? Or just, and The Maid, which is making quite a splash on Netflix. Christian's watching Dexter, which I think is about... No, it did finish.
It ended.
Boba Fett.
Yeah,
it did end it. For good this time.
I need to catch up on Dexter. I haven't watched it yet. I know how it ends, but I haven't watched it.
I watched the first 4 seasons, then I kind of the original show, and then it was like, I think I'm good.
That's tough. That's tough. You stopped at the peak. I saw all of the original series. I was one of the angry fans at the end of the show. But yeah, there's still good stuff ahead.
Oh, I'm sure.
But you saw the best season, I would say.
There's a lot to watch, though. Like, I'm watching Attack on Titan's back, which is, I know like no one here watches, but it's great. That show is very interesting to me. I will dip into anime occasionally if it's really highly recommended. And this one made a big splash a bunch of years ago. And I watched it, and I've rarely watched a show that's just, it has this kind of hopelessness to it that exerts a gravitational pull on me. It's gross and very grim, but I do find it compelling, and it's the ends right now. So they're going to go end.
Yeah.
It combines like that complete sort of Japanese RPG anime nonsense with some really grounded stuff in a way that I haven't really seen before. I like it a lot. I'm also watching The Righteous Gemstones on HBO, which is a Danny McBride show. Do you ever watch Eastbound and Down or Vice Principals or anything?
Yeah, I'm familiar at least. How is it?
It's fun. It's good. That show's good. About a John Goodman is a mega preacher, and which is I think fertile ground for comedy. So it's pretty solid. And everyone else,
I could see John Goodman being really good at that too.
He is very, very good. Natalie says, "Watch Gentleman's funny." Yes, Natalie, it's a funny show, right? I like Dan. I didn't like Danny McBride for a while, and I got introduced to him. His enthusiastic embrace of complete tastelessness, I think, is endearing.
That is a good way of putting it. Yeah. No, totally.
And Julie's on Viking season 6. Is that the last one? I forget. And Tarja is Outlander and F-Boy Island, which I believe is an HBO Max original. That one was that's a weird one. I think. I'm actually not 100% sure. But yeah, there's lots of good stuff on, and there's more to come. Like again,
Yeah.
Outlander's around the corner. We got Peacemaker, which I might dip into. We'll see about that.
Yep.
What's coming up?
I just heard about Legend of Vox Machina like today or yesterday, and that one's kind of intriguing me. I haven't really listened to a lot of Critical Role. I really like the Adventure Zone though, which is another one of those D&D shows.
Sure.
So I might have to check that one out. They released the Red Band trailer today, and it's a gory adult animated fantasy show. So
but
could be fun. It's on Prime.
Those Critical Role people like built a little empire for themselves while I was not looking.
Yeah.
Like I came back and like,
did.
who are these people? Why do they have like a jillion subscribers and tons of money and a TV show of their own? But good for you. D&D got huge during the pandemic because everyone was inside and couldn't do anything. And so they just decided to try doing this thing. So lucky.
And it lends itself well to doing it online.
Absolutely, yes. And as Christian
the Critical
says,
Role
good
people,
point.
They had like their Kickstarter was for a 20-minute cartoon special for their characters. It funded like $11 million, like the fastest funded Kickstarter in like film projects in the history of Kickstarter. So then they were going to make a 10-episode show, and then Amazon saw their show and ordered another 14 episodes. So now they're doing 2 12-episode seasons on Amazon. So yeah, their empire just took off.
Do they have to refund the money to folks who don't want to pay for an Amazon subscription on their Patreon? I think that's a question.
That's a fair quandary.
That's a question for them.
I don't know.
I don't know that.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's curious.
Their empire, their problem.
we'll get around here. As Christian says, yes, God bless Bob Saget, who died.
Yeah.
Star of Full House, not long after Betty White died. So all our old sitcom greats are starting to die, which is unfortunate. But yeah.
Yes, it is.
That was too bad. Okay, I shouldn't have said that before segueing into the WiC News Lightning Round, which is the segment of the show where we quickly go over some stories we couldn't get to in the main show and give our 20-second reactions to them. Daniel, are you ready?
I am just about ready. Okay, I'm ready. I have the lightning round.
Because you have it first. All right, Daniel.
Oh, okay.
React to this photo from Jurassic Park Dominion. What is happening here? And is it interesting?
Yes, it is interesting. That is an Atrociraptor, which is a real dinosaur. I was worried it wasn't when I read that silly name. Chasing Chris Pratt through Malta. I am really excited for Jurassic Park Dominion. I did not like Fallen Kingdom at all. Dominion sounds like it's going to be great.
Pretty cool. Lovely.
With time to
timing.
spare.
You have this down. Time to spare. Okay.
All right.
Hit me.
Dan, tell me how you feel about this. Yep. Viacom, CBS, and Warner Media might sell the CW.
I think it's insane. Like, the CW has been around for a long time and has a very passionate following, and a lot of shows that just have become identified, like Riverdale's a giant show. It has like 1,000 DC shows, and the entire thing might get sold. I mean, it's not gonna get dissolved, but to who? And I mean, they'll lose content on HBO Max, they'll lose content on Discover when they kind of that. I think it's pretty big news. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Oh god, here are some names. Daniel, Geneva Robertson Dworet of Captain Marvel and Graham Wagner of Silicon Valley have been announced as the showrunners on Amazon's new Fallout show, adapted from the beloved video games. How do you feel about that?
I am psyched about that. I was a little nervous when I read the news at first, but so we've got a writer from Captain Marvel, we've got a producer from Silicon Valley and the show Baskets with Zach Galifianakis, which is absurd.
That one, yeah.
And the producers are the two showrunners of Westworld. So I feel like that might be the perfect mesh for Fallout.
Cool. Fallout, post-apocalyptic. All right, go ahead.
All right. The Boys season 3 premieres on June 3rd. What are your thoughts?
I loved The Boys. Really fun show. Just kind of, again, it sounds cliche, like what if superheroes, but they're violent. But they have a really good satirical, smart take on things, I think, while still having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think that show is a good time. I think it has managed to kind of be the anti-superhero show and a superhero show. And I'm looking forward to that on June 3rd. I will definitely watch that. All right.
Cool.
Let's see if I can aim for good timing. All right. Daniel, as a Star Wars fan, phase 2 of Star Wars The High Republic, this Star Wars publishing initiative, launches this October. Are you reading those? Are you into those?
I am not reading them. There are so many that it's almost discouraging to get into at this point because there's really so much stuff. It is the problem. I think it's great that they're doing it, though. It's kind of their largest publishing thing for Star Wars right now. And it is got middle grade, young adult stuff, comics. So they're really going for the kids. Especially.
All right. Perfect way to end that. Hit me.
All right. Ben Affleck, who played Batman in the Justice League, he opened up about his very, 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 very hard experience on Justice League. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. This was sad. I mean, he was talking about how he kind of relapsed on it, how it was just a bad time. He was getting divorced, which frankly, I think you can kind of see a little bit in those movies. He never seemed like he was fully into playing Bruce Wayne Batman, although he definitely has his fans. He's not going to do Batman anymore. He's done with superhero stuff. Apparently, Ben Affleck talked him into going away from it, or helped him anyway. So good for him. And that is
wait. Oh, you mean Matt Damon talked him out of it?
Yes, I do. I mean, Matt Damon talked Ben Affleck out of it. I mean, Ben Affleck talked Ben Affleck about it. Yeah.
Yeah, there was some the Flash multiverse is coming.
All right, I was going to move on, just ignore that ever happened.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was going to be from me. Oh, I'm going to skip.
We can swap them. You want to swap them?
Yes. Okay, Daniel. Shadow and Bone season 2 has begun filming.
I think that's great. I've been kind of waiting and wondering why they hadn't yet, because the first season, Netflix was kind of slow to pick up the second season. But season 2 is going to have a lot of ambitious stuff. The second book, Sea and Storm, something like that. That one has got a lot of cool pirate stuff and creatures. So looking forward to it.
Love pirates. Pirates. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Netflix's The Sandman is rated TV MA for sex, violence, and language. Appropriate?
Right. Are you a Sandman fan, Daniel?
Not a ton. I've read the first omnibus.
I think you'd like it a lot. I mean, or at least, I don't know. I like it a lot. I really enjoyed that thing. Cool. And it does make sense that it'll be a little mature show. And The Batman is like PG-13, which again, helps my theory that they're going to try and soft pedal it to like make a little franchise here.
Yeah.
I had that one that was really on point, and then I've kind of gone downhill from there. All right, Daniel. Brandon Sanderson begins work on the 5th Stormlight Archive book.
Yes, he does. I feel like I'm just saying I'm really excited about all of these. I'm especially excited about this one. It's the 5th book in the Stormlight Archive, which makes it the last book of this first arc. If you have enjoyed Wheel of Time, Stormlight is the next closest thing, and personally, I like it more. Those books are incredible, so love that he's working on it.
I can definitely try to pick those up at some point. It's my backlog, but we'll revisit that in a later episode.
Yeah, whenever you have time to read an 1,100-page book, 4 1,100-page books.
Sounds like a blast. Okay.
Yeah. All right, last one. FX is adapting Octavia Butler's novel Kindred as a TV series.
Pretty cool. Like a miniseries. Kindred is a pretty classic sci-fi book, or like fantasy, whatever it is, about a young Black woman who kind of gets skirted back from the 70s to antebellum Maryland and a plantation. Really good material, really famous, really popular, and I think deserving of an adaptation. That could be a really, really good if they handle it properly, and I would completely be able to watch on Hulu. I think they have that little joint partnership. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Like last time, I know we have gone pretty long, because that's how D&D do. I can't believe I said that.
It's true.
And I'm glad you guys all were here to enjoy it with us. As Christian says, ready for the boys 3. And Jen, with my, I agree with this too. I want HBO to hurry up and get Warrior started. Have you watched the TV show Warrior on HBO Max? It's so good if you haven't watched it.
What?
I mean, it was pretty under the radar. It's really, really strong. It's about kind of Chinatown in San Francisco in like the post-Civil War, like, but still in 1800s. Just a really, 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 I loved that show. And it's kind of got like, it's like a kung fu show, but also a historical show, police drama, procedural. It's excellent. And they're moving it to HBO Max for its 3rd season. And I love that show. So if you have time to watch something, I recommend that. And beyond that, Warrior. Yeah. Simple to remember. I don't know why because it was on like some other network that just isn't a streaming thing, I think. And it just never really caught on, although it completely deserved to. And I'll keep stumping for that as it goes on. But yeah, long show, good talk, loving D&D, as Julie says. Warrior is great. I agree with that as well. And we are here every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time at Winners Coming, the Facebook page, and the Winners Coming YouTube page. And we'll be back next week with more of this talk, more metaphors that may or may not work, more pictures behind the scenes of shows you want to see, more insights and opinions that you can only get here on the WiC network, which I think I just invented. Thanks for coming on, Daniel. Thanks for me being here. And we will see all of you. You're welcome. We will see all of you next week. Goodbye.